Good. Good morning, everybody. Natalie coming to live. Spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. Cheers, salud. Certainly hope that the audio. Oh, well, there you go. Phone falls. There might be some technical difficulties starting with this thing because now I'm trying to stream on Instagram Live or go live on Instagram and doing my restream plus doing the Podbean. So I have three things going at once. I don't know. Perhaps there's a technical person out there who can help me. Hopefully, Facebook is actually good morning. How are you? Um, Perhaps, hopefully, it sounds good on the Facebook Live. So I'm not sure. I can't check it now. So um, but good morning to those on Facebook. Good morning to those on Instagram. Good morning to those on Podbean and anybody else who's tuning in. Um, Great Tuesday. So, want to talk about for those on Instagram. This is, if you don't know, I've been doing Spirit and Coffee for a long time. Just never done it on Instagram Live, and decided that I wanted to do it. Pretty deep stuff, and sometimes it's a little much for some people. And it's definitely in the morning. It's deep conversations, esoteric works. Sort of looking at the spiritual alchemy and of your life and understanding how you have your divine connection, right? What does divine connection mean to you? How do you utilize it for your life? How do you start to create the goals that you want to create and really truly live your divine purpose, right? Whatever that means for you. So everybody's loved here, everybody's invited. There's different ways of viewing the world or dealing with the esoterics, right? It's not just one way. There are different ways, and that's the beauty of spiritual alchemy, and that's why I call myself a spiritual alchemist, not religious. I'm not, because there's always these golden nuggets within every religious system, within every cultural tradition, or whatever you want to say. There's always a nugget, something good to take, right? And the way that people do ritualistic practices and all this stuff. Um, so today, kind of wanted to talk about, in our community, where we live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's pretty rough, I think, placed, and people may get upset with this, but it is a rough place to raise children. If you are just in the public system, right? I don't know how it is everywhere else. I know I was born and raised here in the public systems, and just there's nothing. Hey, good morning, Mel. There's not a lot of things for the children to do here, and so what we end up is with a lot of lost souls. Right now, just recently had there was a bunch of like a homicide of a bunch of children. A couple of them passed away, and it's just sad, right? And happens all the time. Now I know it happens everywhere, but for my community, it's really sad because it impacts the people that I love, like my niece, and they know these people, and and it's a small community, and so when it happens, it really honestly hits the entire community, kind of spirals out. And I started thinking about the youth. And for me, I typically work with adults. I'm always, adults who have maybe gone astray, that are perhaps they're changing their life, or they're going through some big major changes in their life, or they're trying to figure out who they are actually after all this time, and they want to know. They're like, I want to know who I am. I want to know, how do I create the life that I want to create? How do I do the things that I want to do? And so, but the children, right? And so, sort of looking at it, and I'm like, my God, it has been, and I think this is true maybe for the Western world, that children have, not by choice of the parents, but because of the construct of the way our society is created, because the parents are absent, right? There's this sort of like disconnect from the family. And the when we talk about like the individualistic society, right, a capitalist society based on individualism, what it does is it rips apart the very foundation of what it means to have family. The families come together, right? Families support one another. We see this in cultures like, in India for sure. And here it's like, oh no, we can't do that. If you're 18 years old, you're out of the house and that's it. And it's a shame to live with your parents, where we have other countries where their kids live with their parents and they have a family unit and then they work together, right, for to make sure that everybody has resources and that they can support one another. And oftentimes some of these kids just go out there, don't really know who they are or what they want, or they're still not ready. I mean, it's a lifelong journey. I've been searching my whole life, right? And I'm still on a path. I'm still on a journey. I still change every day, right? We're not the same all the time. We maybe have some fundamental, ways that we operate in the world, but we're constantly changing too. And yet we expect a 18-year-old to know who they are, what they want to do, and ready to go. That's it. Now, I'm not saying that there's not some good in it, because responsibility and all that stuff comes with it. However, if we go back to the way society used to be, they would give the children all of these like chores in a way, right? They would say, well, there's rites of passage. You have to do this, this, and this before you can sort of elevate. So I think a blending of the both is what's needed at this time, especially for the youth. So I started to say, here's what I'm going to do. Hey, how are you? Good to see you on Instagram. I decided Instagram might be a good platform to get on as well. So that's what I'm doing. And Poetic, our Holy Shift, or Shauna, I think your name is Shauna, right? That's what I forget. So again, looking at it and saying, how do we support the youth? The youth right now is in dire need of some guidance, right? We're going through this shift. We don't even understand what's going on at times, right? As adults, right? There's so many adults going like, what the hell? My job, the system, everything. Now we're wearing masks. Now we can't go here. Now there's a capacity issue. Now I have to wait in line. Now I have all these things to do, and everything is changing, right? And so it's looking at the children, right? It's like, how do we support these children? The children that may be lost, right? And sort of out there and not really 100% sure of what to do. And I started to think about this only because I have my niece, right? And my niece and her friend, they're always together. And I was like, they were making choices that I wasn't 100% on board with. And I'm like, what's going on here? They're not going to stop being friends. There's nothing to do, but I could tell her friend wants to do more. And so finally I was like, well, how can I help, right? How can I be of service? And had the conversation and said, hey, look, I have a question for you. Do you have guidance in your life? Do you have someone who's helping you to discover what it is that you truly want to do with your life? And she said, no. And here's the deal. I had a conversation with her and she started to cry because she's longing for that support and somebody to guide her. And I think that we believe that maybe, they're 18, they're this, they should know what they want to do already. They don't. We don't even know what we want to do. We're adults telling children to know what they want to do, and we don't even know what we want to do. We're like, I don't know what I want to do. Sometimes I'm all over the place, right? Sometimes I still feel like I'm a child. Like none of us know. We're all making this shit up. Let's be honest. All of us are making it up as we go. Nobody's 100% like, this is my life. There's very few people who are like, hey, I want to be an accountant and I'm going to stay that for the rest of my life. No, they're like, there's a whole other thing inside of them that they want to do. Like maybe they're hikers, or maybe they do this, or maybe this, I'm still a kid too. I know we all are, and we all are children still. And so we get to remember that, right? And to support the youth. And so for me, it was I opened up my eyes and said, wow, how can we help the youth, especially when there's children that are dying? And prematurely, they don't need to be dying. They're dying because they're maybe misguided, or because they don't have the opportunity to connect with somebody who can help steer them in a direction. Now, I'm not saying that there's those that won't fall off and continue to choose to live, some people choose to live that lifestyle, but there are children who don't want to, and they sort of just kind of fall into it, right? And I'd say most, right? And they sort of fall into it, and what ends up happening is that they get misled down a path because they don't know any other way. And then by the time they're 30, 40, they're like, I don't even know how, and they're trying to start their life then. So for me, I said, what am I doing? I'm upset. I'm telling my niece, what are you doing? But then her friend is her friend, and her friend is always with her, and they're not going to stop being friends. And so I have to recognize that and say, okay, how can I be of service then? I have my niece who's trying to pull up her friend, but she doesn't even have the capacity to pull herself up, right? And it's funny because I pulled them aside and I drew this little chart. I like to draw models and charts for people because I'm a visual learner. And so I like to show people visually how I see it in my head. And I drew her a model where I said, look, you're here and she's here. So if you guys were side by side, she's getting pulled in this direction and you're getting pulled into different directions. And you're trying to pull her in your direction because she knows she wants to go that way. But you don't even have the capacity to pull her in the direction of getting an education, having goals, starting a career, looking at what career choices you might want. What is it that you want to do with your life? I said, so how in the heck, you guys are like they're like two tornadoes circling each other. and they're sort of just going like this, and they're all over the place. And I said, okay, I have the capacity. And it just opened I just was like, boom, I teach this stuff, right? And I'm teaching it on social media. I'm teaching it to individuals. I'm like, why am I not teaching it to the youth? Why am I not teaching it to the children? How to set goals, how to start to manifest and create the life that we want. What does it take? Good morning. Is that Salty? Salty Bree. Good morning. If you're on here, please say good morning. For those on Facebook, I cannot see you. So good morning if you're on there, and cheers to you. I love my Facebook followers. That's where it started. It's been 3 years since I started this Spirit and Coffee, by the way. So cheers to that. How can we help our youth? I really, 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 I'm working on that with my son. Awesome. That is so great to hear. I mean, and it's a challenge. So the parents out there, anybody who's a parent that's listening, kudos to you. This is a very challenging time for parents, children, everybody. And to be able to hold down the fort and say it's okay, because I think there are adults even freaking out. And they're trying to keep it cool because they have kids. And some parents aren't keeping it cool. And then now their kids are freaked out, right? So there's tons of challenges. And really, it's the youth that is, that's what's important to me. That we know what we're kind of doing. Like, we don't really know what we're doing, but adults kind of have an idea, right? If you've lived on your own, you're a survivor, you've lived this long, you've learned to survive. It's the children, like, how are they going to survive? What legacy are we going to pass down to them? How are we going to support them to rise them above, right? Keep them above water. Because right now they're like this, right? There's so much information. There's so many different directions they can go in. Technology at the tip of their hands are able to find what they think are answers to everything. What's the truth? What's not truth? I mean, there's so much information out there, right? And they don't know. They need guidance, right? So how am I going to work with this youth? And this is something that you guys can do if you're working with youth, right? Really pay attention. That's something I don't think we do as adults enough with the children. We just want to tell them how to live their life. That's never going to work. Everybody knows it doesn't work. Think about when you were a child and your parents told you to do something and you just are like, don't tell me, I'm going to do what I want. And you figured out a way, okay? Unless you were a very good child and just listened. I was not. I was the one who was like, I'm going to do what I want. I know what I'm doing. And I kind of didn't listen, right? I wanted them to hear me. And that's what's important here. Even as adults, we want to be heard. Even as all humans, they want to be heard. They want to be listened to. Please just listen to what I'm telling you. And so really listening to them. And that may mean getting them a coach. Like I have a friend who's doing life coaching with children and parents. She's doing tutoring and life coaching. And become kind of like a coach, right, with them. And what does that mean? What does it mean to coach a child or coach a person? It means that you ask questions and you listen. You don't insert your ideas. Well, I think you should do this, because you're not going to get to the real core and essence of who they are as an individual. Now, I know in the past it was kind of a legacy that was passed on. So it depends. Different family units are different. If you came from a family of lawyers, sometimes typically the child would then become a lawyer. And if a child went off, right, like we come from 5 generations of lawyers, and then a child's like, I'm going to go take art and I'm going to be an artist. And then they're like, ooh, that's the black sheep of the family or whatever. It's not like that anymore, hopefully. That now we have the opportunity to sort of be who we are internally and who we want to be, and then to magnify that and become great within those things. I mean, and this is not just for the children, it's for you guys as well. Like tapping into that. Who am I? What do I want to do? And so I asked her a question. I said, I have a question for you. What is it that you truly desire? Do you want to go to school? Because right now it's a force for her, I think. She doesn't really want to go to school, right? And she goes, good morning, Weezy. She goes, no. It's a hard time and he has other obstacles. Yes, there's tons of obstacles, and I'm willing to support you in any way that I can. If there's any resources or books or exercises I can give you, I can do that. Just email me. You have my email, spiritandbrew@gmail.com, and I can see if there's I could tap you into some information for support in whatever it is. So listening, just listen. Just be there to listen. Now, here's the deal. Sometimes you may hear things you don't want to hear, right? I will say this, because my niece and I have a powerful relationship, and she knows that I'm not here to judge her. She tells me pretty much everything, right? I'm sure there's secrets that she has, but she comes to me and she confides in me because she knows that I'm not gonna judge her, and I'm gonna talk her through it, and we're gonna work through it. But I'd rather her come to me and confide in me and have that, that she can respect that and feel comfortable and confident in that. And so that's really being able to listen to what they have to say. What is it that you truly desire? And the thing is that she was being pulled in the direction of school, and she doesn't want to go to school. She doesn't want to go to school. Okay, so what do you want? You have to work on something. You have to work. So what is it that you truly want? Well, I like working with kids. Okay, well, what are you doing to work with kids? Okay. Yes, we do have to talk. I know I was trying to reach out to you, but it's hard. Schedules are hard, so it's okay. We will be in contact. I promise. So just let me know when. Things are getting super busy on my end on the front. So I can tell you guys what I'm up to is a lot of different things. Woof, I'm like, I got to keep up with it. But anywho, listening. So I think that it's time for us, me especially, to focus on how do I support the youth, maybe 18 and older or 16 and above, and really just kind of ask them, what is it that you truly desire? What do you love? If you could do anything that you love, what would it be? Like what? And, she's like, I like working with children. I said, okay, well, why aren't you working with children then? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, that's what you love. So let's get you on a path to start to do that. See if it's something you truly want to do. You try it on, see if you like it. And if you don't, then you pivot and you try something different. And that's okay. But at least it's putting you in a direction that's positive rather than going this opposite direction where you have no guidance to even try anything, right? You're trying on parting. I mean, you're going to follow what your peers do, because if you don't have guidance from an adult, you're just going to do exactly what your peers do. So I know if there are parents out there, that's a challenge. I'm not a parent, but I am an aunt, and I feel like a parent to my niece because, quite frankly, I'm the one who guides her, and I'm kind of the only person she listens to, because she could be snappy, right? And it's a challenge, but she's a great kid. And and she wants to do better, and she knows what it takes, right? She understands what it takes, but that doesn't mean she always applies it. And that's what happens with kids. Sometimes they need that little nudge of, and it's hard, right? It's hard because you don't want to be seen as the bad person. So I understand parenting from that perspective, because I feel like I'm her mother, and I don't want to be seen as a bad person. I don't want to be seen as this awful, mean person, but sometimes I have to be the tough love and just call it like it is and say things. And then, it ends up in battles and stuff like that. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, you're going to understand why I'm saying this. It's not because I don't love you. It's because I love you. And sometimes I have to take the hit of, maybe she won't like me, and that's okay. I'll just have to go with her not liking me. And then when she becomes an adult, she's like, oh, like my dad, he used to drive me bonkers. And I'm sure you guys have these stories of your parents where they would keep telling you stuff and you're like, I don't want to hear it anymore. I get it. But did you really get it? Did you really, really get it? No, you got it as a concept, but you didn't really get it as an experience, right? It's kind of like the living on your own. Like, you don't really know what it's like to live on your own until you actually live on. You think about it, you're like, yeah, I could live on my own, blah. And then you get on your own. And I remember first moving out, and I was like, oh, well, I have to buy toilet paper. I have to buy laundry soap. What? This didn't just magically appear. It's like, no, child, it didn't magically appear. You got to budget for that stuff, right? So there's this whole other dynamic where it's like the experience, and that's what Spirit and Coffee is about on the kind of a base level. It's the experience, right? It's how do we experience life? What is our experience of life? How do we engage life? How do we want to mold it, right? And that's what we teach them. We teach them how to experience life, and then that way they can mold it into this thing, right? It's like, I've talked about it before. It's like getting clay and constructing a mug. Like, each mug might look different, right? You have different potters working on it, and maybe it's the same clay, but the construct, the way that it's molded is all unique to you. So teaching them how to get their clay and mold their life. That's kind of what you're doing. You're not telling them, hey, it has to look exactly like mine, because it's never going to. It will never look like yours. They're going to kind of mold their own life in their own kind of way. But you're there to just kind of guide them. Like, well, maybe there's a technique, right? They're like, well, I want to mold my mug kind of to go like this. Well, there's a technique to it, and I can show you the technique. But the way that it actually comes out is going to look different than yours. It's not going to look the same. They're going to mold it to their own unique style, right? But the techniques that are there are the processes that we use are there to support and guide them through that. That's what we do. We give them the process. They mold the clay themselves. And that's the process that we use. So for me, the process, right, is declarations, intentions, and milestones. Those three things. The supernatural, How to Become Supernatural talks about this, actually. I bought the book How to Become Supernatural, and I thought I'd read it. And it's funny because the guy uses the same exact process I do, and it works. You want to create your life, follow that process. If you follow it to the T, you will start to manifest what you want in life. It's not how they have a secret and all this stuff. No, this is practical use, because people want this magical way of molding their life, right? Yes, it is. I don't know if did Joe Disparza? Yeah, I bought the book because supernatural, because I'm like, I'm supernatural. So I want to see what he has to say about me. I'm already supernatural. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I use that process. So, but his process works because that's what I do. I've been using that process for years, and guess what? I get results. And if you follow it, you'll get results. And it's not this woo-woo, like, oh, think about it and pray about it. Do all this stuff. No, like, yes, you pray about it and all that stuff, but you've actually got to work. You've got to move. And that's the part that people forget. Sometimes they just kind of want things to magically fall in their life without doing any work for them. Doesn't work that way. But the magic comes when you apply and you have that experiential. And then not only that, but it's fun. You get to experience life, right? That's what we're here to do. And we're like, ooh, that didn't work. And then you just fall, laugh, dust yourself off, right? Aaliyah said it, right? First you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again, right? If you don't succeed, you just get up and do it again. It's that simple. So teaching them this process at an early age is like my niece. So I'll end with this. My niece, right? She was kind of going like this, inspired action. Yes. And that is what I call a declaration. So an intention. So declarations come from the essence of who we are, the beingness, the I am that I am. The intention is what do I intend to get done? And then the milestone, which is the action that's put into place. And the inspiration comes from the I am. And so you go back to the I am that I am. I am what? If I'm working on something, what am I? Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I upset? Am I motivated? Am I powerful? Where am I feeling it in my body? Somatics comes into this, the body. And I'm taking body consciousness, body wisdom for my masters to teach you how to use the body and listen to the body. We forget to listen to our body. Our body has so much wisdom inside of it to move us forward towards our goals. So this is the process I'll be using with these kiddos. And my niece knows this process because I've worked with her. So she's off in the weeds doing God knows what. I let her go for a while. Finally, she comes back. I'm like, did that work for you? No. I said, okay, you know this work, right? Yes, I know the work. Okay, good. She starts applying the work. Boom. She starts getting results. She's like, oh my God. I said, well, you know how this works. That's all I have to tell her. You know how this works. When you're in integrity, when you're in line with who you are, when you're in integrity, spirit, mind, body alignment, integrity, the mountains and the earth seem to just go like this, and the path is there for you. The path just kind of opens up. It just makes its way. God says, here you go, and makes passage. That's how you know you're on the right track. It becomes this effortless kind of flow with life. When you're off, there's all this force, there's this struggle, there's this, and we need both. We need the struggles so that we can get the lessons we need to understand. I'm not saying that's not important, it's valuable. However, that's just a sign to tell you you are totally off, girlfriend. When I'm struggling, battling, I'm like, I'm off somewhere. Instantly, I call my friend, hey, can you coach me? I need a coaching call. I'm off track. I don't know what's going on. I can't figure it out myself. Sure. Start to dig deeper. Okay, there it is. Boom, on track. And then I go back this way and the mountains part. So the process works. So we teach the youth the process so that they're able to create their life, so that they're able to find their self and their place in space in this particular 3-dimensional time space that we live in, so that they can manifest what they need in life. So that they can be secure, so that we know that if something happens to us, right, if I disappear, that they are able to take care of themselves, that they're able to survive, that they're able to live. So, and experience and have fun with life and understand how to do that. So that is what the process gives. That is what I'm working on with the youth. You guys, it's important that we do this. If you guys need more information or need support, or you're working with a child and you don't know what to do and just reach out to me. I have resources, and I can give you some guidance, but read that book. That book's a good book. I agree with I haven't read it all, but I agree with some of the stuff that I've read so far, right? There's oftentimes there's conflict in what I read and I'm like, doesn't apply to my life, but that process itself, if you get that process down, it works. And I think he talks about, he did the process with his son, and his son knows how to use this process. And that's really the secret to how these individuals are doing what they do. They're starting to really tell the true story of how to create your life, right? They've only given us pieces and they leave a whole bunch out. So there you have it. I guess it's Tuesday. My computer's gonna die. I thought I plugged it in, but I guess I didn't. Perfect timing. So have a fantastic day. Be out there for the youth. If you guys need support, spiritandbrew@gmail.com. Let's just help these little kiddos find their way, their path, their journey, so that they can mold their beautiful mug so they can have coffee with us. Okay. So have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.